on the morning of September 11th, I was actually asleep, although at the time I worked for Delta Airlines, so it was a great impact on me professionally, I guess. Well, and personally too. I remember getting a phone call from my fiance at the time, my husband now, explaining what was going on. And I remember when the first building was hit, everybody thought that it was an accident. And so everybody was kind of watching and thinking that it was a different kind of tragedy, that it was just an accident. And so as we all continued to watch on live television, the second plane hit, and that's when we all started to kind of realize that it was purposeful, and that really changed, I guess, the atmosphere. Everything went from, yes, it's a tragedy, but everything went from a sadness tragedy for me, then now turning into a fear.
And then my father called, he worked for the government, and he was like, I just want you to know that America's under attack. And at first, I was in shock and disbelief. And I said, okay. I thought maybe he was being dramatic. And then a couple of seconds, I put it all together, and I realized that's what was happening. And we just kind of all came together, and we started praying. And then I heard about the second crash, and it just kind of devastated everyone and the whole atmosphere that we had that day.
I had just started teaching in high school, and a student came in and said a plane hit a building. And then we went to an off hour and turned on the TV, and I saw another plane hit a building. And at that point in time, we kind of all knew what was happening, and that it was a terrorist attack. I got activated that evening for the Louisiana National Guard and was sent to my brigade headquarters and had to work for them for the remainder of the next couple of weeks.
I was actually driving in my car down the highway listening to 106.1 KISS FM, and someone came in and Kid Craddock stopped talking. And the first thing I heard was that they thought that a bomb had been dropped on New York. So I was a few minutes from work, ran upstairs, told my boss what I'd heard, and they wheeled a television in, and we were all sitting there watching as the World Trade Center, the first tower that had been hit, was smoking. And we then heard that, a plane had hit, and at that point we didn't know exactly what was going on, but I was sitting there and actually watching when the second plane hit the second tower, and then we just knew that it was a terrorist attack.
I was teaching in Spring, Texas, just outside of Intercontinental Airport, and I was actually working for Continental Airlines, teaching students to be reservation agents. And when we found out about 9/11 was when the planes started coming in, landing like every 10 seconds. It was crazy, and we all went outside and watched the planes as they flew right over our school into the landing zone.
So September 11th, 2001, I was working at camp in New Jersey, which is on the northeast coast. It was 45 minutes from New York City. I was often working with youth who had family members who worked, in and around New York. I remember going into the camp office that day, and there was no noise, like no noise. Normally the phones were ringing, people were, chattering, having a good time, and everybody was just watching the TV. And we were just sitting there watching, and it was just insane. Like once we started to realize that it wasn't an accident. So, and we had some campers and some students that were affected by it. And it was really odd. It was very scary.
But I remember going home early from work that day, and I remember walking outside, and it was just completely silent because there were no planes. President Bush issued a no-fly order, and you could not see a single plane in the sky. And I challenge you to do that on any day, any moment. Walk outside and look in the sky and see if you can almost always see an airplane in the sky or hear it. And so there was just this total silence.
Pretty simple.
It was 8:46 in the morning.
And then we heard a plane come over, and in Manhattan, you don't hear planes too often, especially loud ones.
drive on, my special one. Don't you stop till you know you're gone. Your sister and me have a set of keys. Don't you worry your head about a thing. Drive on, my special one. Don't you stop till you know you're gone. Drive on, my special one. Don't you stop till you know you're gone. Your sister and me will keep your place clean, so it shines when you finally come home. Drive on, my special one. Don't you stop till you know you're gone.
The positive upside of that is that I really do know that we came together as a nation, that we, I think, realized what our freedoms truly meant, and I think that it made me start living every day like it was my last.
You know, I watched, how people came together, like staff, students, everybody started kind of helping each other, making sure everybody was where they're supposed to be, was safe. I saw how, a lot of systems were put in place, to kind of, make sure that we were safe in our environment, in our community. So, I really do believe that helped out a lot to give us some sense of awareness, to make sure that we're, safe at all times.
And the way it changed my life was, made me scared to fly, first of all. But it just made me realize that life is very, very precious. And I appreciate all those who, we'll always want to remember those who died that day, and always be respectful and thankful for our first responders who did so much that day too. Go Cats.
One of the positive things that came about of this is it just made us more aware and more alert of the world that we live in, and we need to do a better job at making this world a better place.
I think after that happened, I saw a unity that I hadn't seen in America in quite some time. It's like people who you would maybe never see connected were starting to connect. The attitude and the pride of America was totally changing. Of course, at the same time, there was a sense of fear that was happening, but overall, the bigger atmosphere was of pride to be an American and how we all came together to celebrate the lives of the people who sacrificed to get over the hurt, and it's still a healing process that we have even today. And so I personally will never forget where I was on 9/11, and it made me think about all my friends and the choices that we were making, and it was time to grow up and be mature because tomorrow is never promised.